If you're investing in Airbnbs right now in the UK or Dubai, you need to listen up. There's a huge shift that's gone on over the last couple of years since COVID. The market has been flooded with many people going on crash courses, YouTube videos, whatever the information they've got to actually educate themselves how to operate in this market. However, they're buying the wrong stock, they're renting the wrong stock, and they're getting themselves into financial difficulty. Several years ago, I spotted this trend. I realized that my portfolio was not sustainable. I was chasing the same market that so many people are chasing right now and will end up in difficulty if they don't pivot and switch. Airbnb is not going to give up on its commissions. They're going to continue to increase those commissions, which makes it more difficult for you if you're relying solely on the likes of Airbnb, Booking.com, TripAdvisor, who charge north of 15% all in, and it will only increase to probably 20, 25, 30%. We've had the energy crisis in the UK increasing the bills. You've got rents going up. So if you're playing the rent to rent strategy, how are you going to make money? If you then pass that on to a management company, there is literally no margin left for you to ride out the down seasons. Now in this game, there are peaks and troughs. It doesn't matter where you are. In Dubai, we have a down season. In the UK, we have a down season. That is the way that the tourism game works. Even if you're fighting the business game like I do in the UK, where we look after contractors, or here in Dubai, where we typically look after expats, there's still a downtime to that, whether it be the Christmas break, whether it be the summer period when it's too hot. So you have to make sure that your model has enough margin in it in the peak seasons that you can ride the down seasons. Now, the lower end stock, the smaller properties do not have these margins anymore. They are getting wiped out, whether it be through saturation, whether it be the costs have gone up and therefore the margins just aren't there because the nightly rates haven't risen enough to give you that profit margin. So the game you need to be playing may need to change. If not, you're going to get wiped out this game. Yes, the supply of stock is always going to come and go because, as we see, it's a bit of a shiny penny game, this Airbnb game. People see it as, oh, I'll get rich quick, so I'll dive in. And then they realize that they've actually created themselves a 70-hour-a-week job, if not more, because they don't know how to systemize, they don't know how to process things, they don't know how to run a team, they don't know how to manage people, and all of a sudden it's just so many plates getting spun and they don't know what to do. That in itself means that the supply floods in when it's good, but then also they then flood out when either they start losing money, they get sick of it, or they just full on explode with burnout, which I see time and time again. I've coached thousands of people in this game. I've seen some good, some bad, and some ugly. It is all about getting the right help and the right advice to ensure that you have a sustainable business long term. Airbnb is not a hobby anymore. It was many years ago, and you could do it as a side hustle and make a few quid. That's not the game anymore. You have to be in this for the long run. You have to build a business around it, which includes marketing departments, accountancy functions, SEO projects, proper websites, brand building, let alone your automation, your systems, your processes, and everything else that goes into an Airbnb business. And if you're not thinking like this, then you either need to change the way you are thinking about your Airbnb business, or you might be better off just ripping it all up and starting something different, because you will get crushed by the professional operators. My direct booking game this year is over 74%. Now, I am not saying that to brag. I'm saying that because I've worked hard on that, knowing if I don't get away from the booking channels, my business isn't profitable enough for me to survive in the downtimes, or survive if we have an extended period of disruption. COVID is a great example. You had to survive for 3-4 months. We did not know about CBILS loans. These came afterwards. In the heat of the moment, you got a spreadsheet out, or I did personally, and went, how long have I got left before the cash flow ends? Luckily for me, at the time, it was very profitable, so I had enough cash in the bank to be able to ride the storm out. But with the margins getting squeezed, with the competition making it harder to get those higher occupancies, you need to be thinking about a different strategy. Now, if I was to say to you that I am making profit from a occupancy of less than 65%, that would go against the norm of probably what's being taught out in the market, because everyone tells you 75, 80%. Every deal sourcer that brings you a deal, it's all of this percentage that is just made up because, they need to give you that figures. But anyway, most people are saying 75, 80, 85, 95% is where you need to be. I'm saying there's a better way. You can have less occupancy, which not only means less hassle, it means you need less staff, your operation's more efficient, you have more time to yourself, but you can make more profit. Now, for me, that is working smarter, not harder. And listen, I'm the first to admit it. Listen to any of my previous videos, listen to any of my previous podcasts. I wanted thousands of properties. I was chasing 5,000 at one point. We were scaling at an unbelievable rate, but more scale equals more headache, and those margins get squeezed if you're not taking on the right properties. And at the time I wasn't. I was taking on bad properties, things that didn't meet the brand, unprofitable properties. So you have to really analyze your portfolio and go, okay, is this working? No. Is that working? No. And what I found is the data that has come out is shown me that the niche market that I now operate in, having focused it all down, buying the right stock that attracts this type of guest, renting the right stock that attracts this type of guest, therefore attracts the guest directly to our website rather than the Airbnbs. The guest stays for longer, they're less hassle, they're of a higher net worth, so generally they're more respectful, so maintenance costs have gone down. And all in all, it's just a much nicer business to run. And for me, it's a more profitable business. You look at the people that have been doing this for 10, 15, 20 years, they have perfect properties, niching down on a specific type of guest, and that's the important thing. The problem is the majority of people go on Airbnb and just chase any type of guest. You end up with weekend partiers, you end up with some contractors, you end up with travelers, you end up with prostitutes, drug dealers, and everything else that, and yes, this does go on in your properties, you know, whether you like it or lump it, and it doesn't matter how much you want to protect yourself, this will be going on in your properties if you're not careful. And when you're playing for everything, you end up not really achieving much. But what I've done is really narrowed my focus down on this is the type of guest in that area, this is the type of guest in that area, where do they want to stay, this is the type of property that they want, let's get more of them because they're profitable, the data tells us that, and we also know if we get them and we list them, whether it be on the booking sites, whether it be on our own website, whether it be through our marketing campaigns, we list them, we know we get the bookings from that particular type of guest, and we don't get the bookings from the guests that we don't want. So it all goes hand in hand, but you have to understand what you're chasing after. If you're just chasing after every guest, then you're just trying to put a property into an every guest, you know, suitable condition. You're actually not going to end up getting anything. You're not going to end up getting any guests, you know, of any consistent format. So basically you're playing Russian roulette with your bank account, because unless Airbnb sends you the guests, unless they put you up the algorithms, unless they give you visibility on the platform, which is oversaturated with loads of studios, 1-beds and 2-bed apartments in most areas, then you literally have no control over your business. Luckily for me now, you know, I probably use Airbnb about 12% of the business. So if they turn that platform off overnight, my business would still survive. We would still have enough profit coming into the properties from the direct bookings. Now we get those direct bookings because that type of avatar we know books through a different channel than the booking channel. So we buy properties that suit that avatar, so we know we're gonna get them direct. And if you are still with me, by the way, hit the subscribe button because, you know, I love to give the information out and there's plenty more videos where this came from. So what can you do going forward? Number one, have a look through all your data so far of what type of guests are bringing in the most profit. Have a look through your data and see what your average length of stay is and see if you can increase that somewhat. You know, have a look to see how many beds are typically getting stayed in. So whether you got one property, you got 100 properties, doesn't matter, you can run this data. Once you find out what your profit, where your main profit is coming from, because I guarantee you 20% of your properties is probably bringing 80% of your profit, go get more of those properties, you know, find out where your direct bookings are coming from, what type of properties are they going into, and I guarantee you'll start to see some patterns. You've got to analyze the data. When you start getting the patterns of where the direct bookings are coming from in terms of the properties, and also where the majority of the profit's coming from in terms of the properties, go get more of those properties. Get rid of the rest, because they really will only affect your portfolio and your profitability going forward. So it's really important that you understand your data, and that more importantly, you're analyzing your data. So many people that I coach, they don't have the first clue. They're not collecting data. They're not looking at data. Every day I'm looking at data, financial data, performance data, booking reports, and trying to look at the patterns so that we move the portfolio in the right direction, that we buy the right type of stock, that we rent the right type of stock. It is so, so important to your portfolio. Now, listen, please share this video if you are seeing some value from it. I hope you do. If you haven't already, follow me on Instagram at RyanKLuke84. And if you drop me a DM one-to-one, my team will speak to you and potentially arrange a one-to-one call so we can see if we can help you perform a better strategy from your current portfolio and make it a win-win for us both, because I'm looking for people to invest with, and I'm also looking to help as many people as I can, because if you're profitable, I'm profitable. It's a win-win situation. So hit one-to-one on a DM to me, RyanKLuke84 on Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and you are receiving value from this. As always, I'll see you on the next video. Thank you so much for your time. I hope it's been helpful.